Caitlin Clark was just named Time's 2024 Athlete of the Year, and she gave her most vulnerable interview yet, even commenting on some of the most controversial issues surrounding her this year.
After Caitlin Clark revealed everything, the WNBA is in complete disarray. The league is flawed, and her most recent interview, Caitlin, who is renowned for speaking only when it really counts, not holding back when discussing the absurd unfairness she has experienced from the unbridled physicality. She didn't hold back in the face of the league's flagrant disregard on the court.
She admitted it here that it was so much harder going to the WNBA, but also that she was able to rise to the occasion and become a better player.
Caitlin persevered in the face of violence and mayhem, not for the WNBA, but for her supporters who think. In both her and women's basketball's future, she is the reason viewers even pay attention, demonstrating that women's basketball can be thrilling, competitive, and well worth the time. However,
the players of the WNBA can't fucking stand her. Why? Because she's white. It's abject, absolute racism. It's total racism.
The WNBA is currently in a panic because they are unable to deal with her bravery and integrity. Not only did Caitlin express her, in actuality, she set the entire story on fire, and the league is in flames as a result.
Cheryl Swoops and others who were clearly distant and dismissive of her, no matter how much they try to deny it. There was resentment towards her, and here's why I said it was stupid.
To be honest, I didn't think the WNBA could have reached such a terrible position. Caitlin Clark, a walking highlight reel, record-breaking machine, and rookie sensation, just exposed the league for what? It is, in fact, a circus of ineptitude disguising itself as professional basketball. The woman changed the course of history in her first year, and what does she receive in exchange? An up-close look at the WNBA's masterclass on fumbling. Magnificence.
She still fell victim to being in the middle of all of these controversies. So the fact that she saw some of that and she feels that way kind of sucks.
Caitlin Clark is more than simply talented, so let's talk about numbers. She is renowned .6 rookie goals and records, and helps verify .4 records for the franchise. Check .19 assists in a single game, breaking the league's previous record, of course, and casually won the 2024 Athlete of the Year award from Time magazine. However, yes, since the WNBA seems to operate that way, let's treat her like any other player in the lineup.
Wilson, a two-time league champion and now three-time WNBA MVP, told the Associated Press she thought Clark's race was a huge contributor to her popularity. It doesn't matter what we all do as Black women, we're still going to be swept underneath the rug. That's why it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it is.
Caitlin finally opened up about the bullshit she's been dealing with in her stunning interview with Time magazine. I'll paint the picture for you. Olympic rejections, unrestrained physical violence on the court, and an apparently prosperous league. On pandemonium in the media rather than real basketball, the WNBA seems to have an allergy to success, rather than safeguarding and encouraging. They're out here giving their rising stars practice jerseys and wishing them luck.
She said, I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. A lot of these players in the league that have been really good have been Black players. This league is kind of built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think that's important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate Black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing.
First, let's discuss the physicality. The Hunger Games was Caitlin's first season. One really bizarre moment. Chennedy Carter called her the B word after shoving her during a game against the Chicago Sky. What action did the league take in response to this obvious hostility? Nothing at all. And oh, penalties, no bans. Probably just a pat on the back for Carter. The WNBA appears to believe that this is WWE, where violence and drama are profitable. Tickets.
For 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They were begging for chartered flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got chartered flights.
Then there was the notorious altercation between Victoria Vivian and the Seattle Storm during a game. Why limit yourself to just one scandal? When an entire series is available, the league's handling of these situations has been excellent. In taking no action at all, Caitlyn, on the other hand, simply keeps her head down and says it's all part of the game. Her patience, not the professionalism of the WNBA, is the reason she isn't turning the tables on this.
A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide that lifts the boats.
Oh, but hold on. Things improve. The WNBA's reaction when Caitlyn is clearly shaken and jabbed in the eye? Crickets. The media makes it seem dramatic. The players' union leaps to Carrington's defense, and Caitlyn must intervene herself. To defuse the situation, did it possible for this to occur in the NBA? If Steph Curry was jabbed in the eye? In the WNBA, it's just another Tuesday, but in the league, the National Guard would be called in.
And she does very well, and she wins games, and she puts butts in the seats, and she sells tickets, and she gets people tuning in on television. And all really we want to hear from anybody about this is thank you. Thank you to Caitlin Clark for making our league relevant and so on. But instead, she's been bullied repeatedly by the players in this league. She's been assaulted physically. She's been scratched in the eye. And I mean, all this is on camera. We've covered it repeatedly on the show.
What's the cherry on top of this disastrous Sunday? Caitlin Clark, who smashed 64 records in her debut year, was rejected for the Olympics. Season was not included in the roster for Paris 2024. And nevertheless, the WNBA apparently felt that giving legacy players priority was a good idea. Favor Diana Taurasi over one of the league's most exciting players. Let's refer to this as just politics. Caitlyn outperformed and outscored, but it seems that being too good is now an issue.
She automatically and instantaneously improved the conditions. Attendance is still lagging. WNBA is still losing money compared to what you would hope it would earn, but clearly things are on an upward trending trajectory. It's improving, and she has everything to do with it.
What was the rationale for her omission? Yes, they will tell you that it has to do with experience or team dynamics. Let's not fool ourselves, though. The old guard, the so-called legends who haven't accomplished anything since Flip, were the target of this. There were phones. Caitlyn is out there changing the game in the meanwhile. However, let's keep her on the sidelines and question why people aren't paying attention. The way Caitlyn responds to all of this with more consideration than the WNBA merits. She is not requesting free tickets to the Olympics or handouts. All she wants is to be evaluated based on her skill, which the WNBA doesn't appear to be able to match. Caitlyn would already be the best if this were the NBA. The league's face, however, she is just another name to mismanage in the WNBA.
Be resentful of the folks, primarily the white folks, who basically disenfranchised y'all all of these years before she came along, who denied you the acclaim and the allure and the profits you richly deserved. But you don't take that out on Caitlin Clark. Not her.
It's almost monotonous how predictable the obsession with double standards is. However, Caitlin Clark, she's not going to overlook it, I see. She blasted the media for their utter foolishness in her most recent lecture on telling the truth, pointing out unqualified viewpoints on all sides, and let's be honest, they are deserving of it. Clark didn't hold back when most of these people haven't even watched half a game, she remarked. Burn, she's not incorrect either. How frequently do TikTok analysts appear? Or bloggers who don't really know anything about the WNBA? All for clicks, huh? The WNBA may enjoy the spotlight. However, this ignorant commentary just serves to depress the sport over time.
And WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings, she's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it, like she was the cause of the problems that they had for the lack of recognition. No, she just happened to be born white.
The agreement is as follows. If you're going to critique, at least be familiar with the fundamentals. However, the media strategy is to spin everything into an attention-grabbing mess. Does Tyrese Halliburton trip over his shoelaces? Crickets. Does Caitlin Clark get poked, prodded, or involved in a little drama? Let the media circus begin. And let's not even begin on the catastrophe involving Christine Brennan. Brennan's line of inquiry following the Carrington eye poke incident was quite embarrassing, not simply tone deaf. She was told to calm down by even the WNBA Players Union. Clark herself described the inquiries as needless and inappropriate, which is a courteous way of saying, "What on earth were you thinking?"
from the bench. She said, "I don't even know if she really knew what happened. Honestly, I don't think she was cheering because somebody hit me. I really don't think that would be the case."
Nevertheless, Caitlyn handled everything with more poise than either Brennan or the WNBA deserved, despite Brennan's clear effort. Caitlyn kept things elegant in order to get to Joni Carrington to say something explosive. This woman's self-control is nothing short of saintly in the midst of this pandemonium. The league would be taking notes if they were sane. Rather, they are too preoccupied to stop the media from weaponizing stories about gender, ethnicity, and sports in order to get cheap clicks. Why not capitalize on some contrived issue instead of focusing on Caitlyn's incredible debut season? Rather,
there was a lot of even like political outlets that were taking some of these videos and trying to comment on them or share their opinions on them. And some of these political news people don't know a thing about sports. So just honestly, to me, it was comical sometimes seeing some of these political pundits like trying to commentate a game. It was bad. It was all bad. So I get what she's saying in that.
Even though the NBA isn't flawless, at least they don't tolerate such foolishness. If Draymond Green receives a call out for being physically aggressive, the game is the focus, not a deeper social problem. However, the WNBA, they'll share tales of their players descend into politically charged dumpster fires. Rather than taking charge of the discussion, they allowed the media to steer their league into a sideshow in the tabloids. And who bears the cost? Players that deserve better include Caitlin Clark.
She's like, hey, the game's physical, I just go about it. And I think that that's the mentality that she needs to have.
However, Caitlyn isn't waiting for the WNBA to improve. She's too intelligent for that. Refusing the new, unparalleled league is one example. As other players joined in, Caitlyn thought, no, I'm okay that a new league might not even make it through its first year, so why waste effort on it? Rather, she is concentrating on herself, going to the gym, lifting more weight than before, and honing her skills. What did she say? The goal of this offseason is to improve her performance. She is going to make the WNBA regret all of their poor choices. Created, her collaboration with Stephanie White, her new coach, is already fruitful, in contrast to the train from the previous season. This is a welcome change of pace from the devastation beneath Christie's sides, although Caitlyn didn't directly criticize sides when she stated that last year's coaching was essentially, here's a ball screen, figure it out. The shade was genuine. How do you provide one of the greatest rookies in the history of the league, no structure, and expect outcomes? That side has the boot is understandable, White. Caitlyn, on the other hand, thrives in an environment that incorporates strategy and organization. You can already tell that it's changing things.